Carey character?
Robert Carey is the quintessential Elizabethan. If he hadn't existed, it would have been necessary to invent him. He was actually Sir Robert Carey. He was the cousin of Queen Elizabeth. He was the son of Lord Hunsdon, who was the Lord Chamberlain and was also the patron of Shakespeare. He was the seventh son of Lord Hunsdon, which meant he was not going to get any money, no land, he had to do for himself. He started off with Walsingham at the Scottish court, very successful. Then he went to France, where he seems to have got in a bit of trouble. This was when he was 19. And then he served at court. He served Elizabeth at court as a courtier for 10 years. And then he seems to have got bored, or perhaps he was finding that the creditors were getting a bit close to him, and decided that he would become his brother-in-law, Lord Scropes, deputy warden for the West March of England in Carlisle. And the reason why they had a warden instead of a, can't remember what the phrase was, but they had a warden in Carlisle. They had 3 wardens on the English March, West, Middle and East March, and they had 3 wardens on the Scottish March, West, Middle and East. And so they had these 6 officials who were supposed to stop all of the raiding, the murdering, the cattle rustling, the kidnapping, the general burglary, the completely disgraceful behaviour of all of the people living along the borderline. And they were supposed to do it with a couple of hundred men. And being the deputy warden was a fairly strenuous job, but he seems to have enjoyed it tremendously. He seems to have thoroughly enjoyed himself riding across country. They gave us good sport, was one of his words of approval of some of the men of the Reeving surnames. A surname was basically a clan, and you had various dreadful people, appalling surnames. The worst, probably, lot of competition for the title of the worst, but probably the worst were the Grahams. Richie Graham of Brackenhill was the head man of that surname and was a gangster, pure and simple, lots of blackmail. They invented the word blackmail in the borders, and the whole idea was to at least catch them, stop them if they had stolen lots of cattle, which they normally had, and if you could, you'd hang them if they'd killed too many people. So it was a real lawless area. Basically, my idea was that you had this court dude, this fancy clothed, very fancy dressed court dude with his 2 pistols coming into effectively what was the Elizabethan Wild North, and being Her Majesty's Marshal for Carlisle. That was the kind of picture of it that I had. And Sir Robert Carey, I'm now, well, I'm not sure where I am now, but I'm around the 8th, well, the 8th book is coming out, or let me think. The 8th book is published, and that's called A Clash of Spheres, and that's Sir Robert going to Edinburgh to see the King of Scotland, who's obviously, he's King James VI of Scotland at the moment, but in the future he will be King James I of England, and that's at least one of the reasons why. And Sir Robert Carey is a tremendously fun character to write, because essentially I took him completely unchanged from his own memoirs, which we wrote when he was about in his late 50s, in the 1620s, early 30s. Yeah, about 60 actually, and he wrote them, and they are absolutely brilliant. They have these amazing stories about the various heads of surnames that he met, arrested, hanged, etc. In his attempt to stop people cattle raiding all over the place and disturbing the peace. So he's a very dramatic Elizabethan. He's exactly what you would think of. When you think Elizabethan, you think a chap riding around on horseback waving a sword. Well, that was Sir Robert Carey.